Do women have any responsibility when it comes to how they sexually show up within their marriage? Or is this something that is 100% all on the husband, on the man? Now, we do often hear that it is a man who needs to do all kinds of things to first not only just land the woman, but then to keep her sexually aroused, to keep her interested in having sex with him long term, years, if not decades. There's things like he must stay physically attractive because no woman's ever been turned off by a 6-pack of abs. I'm just putting that out there. But not only that, but you also have to build the emotional connection. But that's not even enough. You also must be a good dad. You must also go to work. You must pay the bills. You must also do your fair share around the house. There's this whole laundry list of things that society tells men. And the wife might even tell the man himself that he must do in order to have the privilege of having sex with her. So men are tasked with all of these responsibilities, both inside and outside of the bedroom, that are supposed to help a woman's sexual energy percolate and rise. But what are the responsibility that a woman has in the marriage? How she's showing up sexually? How come none of that is ever brought up? Does she not dwell in her own body? Does she not have any control whatsoever over her own libido? Is her sexuality truly 100% dependent upon the efforts of the man? How much responsibility, if any, does she have to cultivate or to harness her own sexual energy? Well, spoiler alert for you ladies out there, I've got news for you. It's not a man's job to turn you on. Let me say that again. It is not a man's job to turn you on. And you may wonder, Monica, if it's not a man's job to turn me on, whose job is it? Well, honey, it's yours. And right now you might be a little bit confused. You might be thinking, well, wait a minute, I can't turn myself on. Well, I guess right there, that's the fundamental misbelief that we're going to have to correct. Not only can you control your sexual experience in the marriage, it's your responsibility to do so. So let's just take a minute here and speak to the men. Now, I know that you've all been fed a lie that a woman's entire sexual experience is dependent upon you, what you do or what you don't do. So when things start to stall out in the bedroom, you're going to naturally go search out solutions. You're going to maybe go on YouTube, watch a few videos. That's probably how you found me. But all of these videos are going to promise you of how to fix things. There's some kind of magical secrets or techniques to make her crave you, to make you the master in bed where no woman can possibly say no because your technique is so good. Look at some of these ones here. And I get it, the titles do have to be a little bit clickbaity or else nobody's ever going to watch. And it's true that if you learn some extra techniques or skills, that they can help. But don't automatically assume that your bedroom problems stem from performance or a lack of attraction. But this is the message that you're going to hear most of the time from the people in the manosphere space and the red pill space. And I'm in the space. But the general sentiment of the men in the space is that if a woman doesn't want to have sex with you, it's because she doesn't have that genuine raw desire for you. That genuine burning desire is usually the key phrase that they use. And don't get me wrong, attraction, it's huge. It's a big piece of the puzzle, but it's not the full picture because a woman's libido is complex. So reducing it down to one or two factors is frankly just a male perspective. It's limited by not being a woman. So I get that why they came to this conclusion is because they just don't have the firsthand knowledge in which to speak from. So I'm not blaming the guys in this space because they do provide a lot of really great information. So yes, be as attractive as possible, learn some really great skills, and she'll definitely be more incentivized to be able to get into the mood. But whether or not she decides to show up, that's entirely up to her. I mean, you can sway it. Those are the levers that you have control over, but you just can't control it entirely. Let's go back to you ladies now. So just as happiness is not something that a man can give you, it's a mood, it's something that you internally choose. The same thing goes for libido. You can choose to cultivate interest in having sex, even if it's not there spontaneously. And that's really the big difference between men and women is that men have that ability due to testosterone to have it there spontaneously. It actually takes more conscious work for us to get in the mood. But you have an obligation to do so, because the reality is, as a married woman, that you signed up not only for the benefits and the rights of marriage, but also for the duties and obligations that come with it. We forget about that part, right? We have duties and obligations as a married woman. And one of those duties and obligations is to have sex with your husband. But not only if you show up, but your whole attitude about the entire process. It's all within your control. So, sure, your husband's attractiveness and his emotional availability influences your libido. So does your own decision to decide that you're going to take this matter into your own hands and you're going to take it off of autopilot to have your body decide for you and to shift it from being a subconscious choice to one that is intentional. I want you to start intentionally choosing to have a hot, steamy sex life with your husband. Not for him, but for you. But to do this, this means that you're going to have to stop letting your emotions and your mood dictate the quality of your sex life. So my goal today is to get you to realize that this is all within your control. That you can have a vibrant sex life, not out of duty, not because that's what you signed up for, but because it's something that you choose to identify with, that you are a sexual creature and you want to embrace that. And you're going to see how best to optimize that. So by the end of this video, I'm hoping to help you realize that moods are just moods. They are temporary, they're manageable, and you can decide to be a sexually generous wife. And I'm telling you, if you decide to do this, because this is something I went through and I did, you're going to probably come to the same realization that I did, which is that, boy, does this really radically change your marriage. I mean, have you ever met a couple that had a really great sex life that their marriage sucked? Because I haven't met one. So let's take a minute to talk about the word duty and obligation and responsibility. Now, I know that these don't sound like sexy words, but we sometimes think that if we do something out of duty or obligation or responsibility, that in some way takes away from the passion. And this is a false assumption. But too many people will say, oh, so what you're saying is that women should be forced to do something that they shouldn't want to do. Show up and be sexually generous. So what you're saying is that men should be okay with grape. You're wanting men to force sex upon their wife. No, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that you can choose to be sexually generous and that you don't have to be beholden to your mood. You have to realize that we're built differently and that your body most likely will catch up and you'll be happy you did it. And I know that the word duty and obligation and responsibilities aren't hot and sexy, but they are part of marriage. And if you don't want to sign up for any responsibilities, that's cool. Just don't get married, because you can't just walk in with the idea that you're going to reap all these benefits of marriage without some kind of exchange that your husband needs to get something in return. Like, this isn't just a give me type of attitude here. So when I'm speaking about duties and obligations when it comes to the topic of sex, I'm not just talking about physically showing up, because it extends to more than beyond that. Sexual generosity means you're going to show up for your husband to make it a mutually satisfying experience. This does not mean that you go and sigh and hem and haw and do the starfish. This should not be drudgery. You should want to show up and connect with your partner, and that's what he wants to. So as women in society, we constantly are in men's faces telling them that the entire sexual experience is all upon them. We tell men to fix your game, be more attractive, be better in bed, and she'll want you more. And that's fair enough. Like, you want to make the whole experience as pleasant as possible for her. But women also are not off the hook here. Like, they need to show up and contribute as well. They can't just show up with passivity and frigidity and reject new ideas. Great sex does not require perfection, but it does require participation. But too many women show up only minimally. And not only that, what's even worse than that is that they'll show up with the sole intention of to try to punish him or make him feel bad or make him feel like he's using her, because she wasn't in the mood anyway. And so she's going to make sure that you know it. And she's going to make sure that you feel bad for, God forbid, for wanting to have sex with his old wife. So she'll lay there as a way to punish. and intentionally make the sex bad. Where she could just have laid there and had at least a minimal amount of effort. And it could have been a good experience on both sides. But no, she had to punish him. So a woman not being in the mood is like the only place in life that we deem this to be acceptable. There's no other part in life except for sex where we just simply say, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm not in the mood. Like if you compare it to going to the gym, like I really don't like working out. I do it because I don't want to be fat. I'm just going to be real with you. I'm just going to be real. I don't want to be fat. But every time I go, I'm not in the mood. Every time. But I show up, I do my workout, I walk out the door, I feel better. There's never, ever once where I am sorry that I worked out. And likewise, when I show up for my husband, have sex sometimes when I'm not really in the mood, I'm always glad I did it. So when I suggest to a wife, like, hey, maybe you should go to the intimacy gym. Maybe you should work out that muscle. All of a sudden, there's accusations that fly. How criminal it is for a man to expect a woman to override her mood in the moment and see if she can if her mind can catch up to her body, if her body starts. And that's what normally happens. This is why women are said to have a responsive desire, because you have to kind of get going in the process and your mind will finally catch up. So yes, sometimes you're going to have to start the process physically before your mind catches up. A woman's body typically will respond. And then when it's all done, you're all going to be happy. You have all those hormones flooding in. Everyone's going to be excited that you did your workout for the day. But for some reason, sex has its own rules. And it often favors a woman's initial feelings over a man's need to connect. And we just all view this as normal. That women have no duty or responsibility. We're all beholden to a woman's mood. So, ladies, yes, you have a duty and an obligation and responsibilities in your marriage to have sex with your husband frequently with a great attitude. And not only do you have the duty to show up physically, there are also 6 other responsibilities. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be filling in the 6 responsibilities that married women have to keep her sex life hot. But before we get into that, I'm just going to have to ask you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the episode. There's a husband, there's a wife out there somewhere that need to have this information. I also want to let you know about my community on school. The one thing I've definitely learned over doing this podcast over the last year and a half is that relationships are messy. But another thing I learned is that you probably shouldn't be doing it alone. So if you like the topics that I talk about here and would like more support, go ahead and check out my school community, and I'll provide that link for you in the description. So I hope to see you over there. So the first responsibility a married woman has when it comes to her sex life is to figure out what turns her on. You need to know what turns you on. You know what that means? That means you're going to have to explore your own body. You need to learn your preferences, what spots you like touched, what words you like to hear, or maybe you don't want to hear any words at all. But if you don't know what turns you on, how is he going to know? And one of the biggest things that I see women do that really impedes this is when they fake an orgasm. Research has shown that 45 to 85% of women have faked orgasms at some point. I have never faked one, for the record, not once, because I just think that that's lying. I think it's disingenuous. It's like, okay, I didn't have an orgasm this time. That's fine. Not a big deal. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll try it again. And in fact, sometimes it's feeling so good, I will intentionally forgo having an orgasm because I'm like, I don't want it to end. So I know for guys, like having an orgasm is like the end all and be all goal, but sometimes, many times for women, it's not. It's all about like the entire experience. And sometimes too, as we get older, the things that used to float our boat, sometimes that changes. But the point is, there's some level of accountability in knowing what turns you on. And then if there's something you particularly love, like a certain button that works every time, you can communicate. Guys aren't mind readers. They need to know what's working. Give them something. Give them some kind of like signs, or, don't be all quiet. Give the guy something to go off, to know that he's doing a good job. So ladies, figure out what turns you on. The second responsibility married women have is to embrace your sexuality. Okay, what do I mean by this? What I mean is that I think the core crux of the majority of problems in dead bedroom situations comes down to this one thing. Women just don't see themselves as sexual creatures. And men, they have to. Like that testosterone is in your face all the time, being like, we need to get laid. We need to get laid. Well, women don't have that level. We don't have that biological prompting telling us all the time, making it constantly in our brain that sex is important. And of course, that does happen during ovulation, where there's that peak in estrogen and testosterone, which makes a woman far more feral and closer to a man's level of desire. But overall, women are just not seeing themselves as a sexual creature. And this is especially true when it comes after a woman has a baby, after she becomes a mother, and she has this whole entire identity shift. And instead of incorporating motherhood into her identity, motherhood becomes her identity, and she has a new love. This is not something women consciously choose, but just all that focus and attention goes into the kids, and it just completely, sex just doesn't come into her mind at all because she just doesn't see herself as a sexual creature. We also see this happening a lot when it comes to purity culture, where many times women have been taught all their lives growing up in church, sex is bad, don't have sex. And all of a sudden you're married, and all of a sudden she's now told it's okay to have sex and it's good to have sex. But how do you overturn all that conditioning over all the formative years? Or it may be if you are in a situation with a church culture where sex is only for procreation. So sex is to accomplish something versus to as an experience or as an expression of you being a sexual being. So this is a self-identity crisis here. This also comes into play during menopause, where all the hormones take a dump. There's nothing there at all. I mean, as women, we were already disadvantaged because we don't have the high levels of testosterone that men have. Just biologically, we aren't wired that way. We have like a sliver. And then you go through menopause, and then that small level of hormones that we had take a complete dump. The idea of sex is not only just not there, it seems repulsive. Like if you think about the fact, why do we even want to have sex to begin with? And this makes a little bit more sense when you think about why kids don't want to have sex. Well, because, they haven't experienced it, but it's the puberty. It's the activation of the hormones that gets them interested. The idea where boys are no longer have cooties. What changes there? Well, hormones. So menopause really does a number, not only physically, but many times women will just now say, you know what? I'm in full grandma mode and I like it. Sex isn't important to me. I'm in this new stage. That phase is behind me. I'm no longer interested. That's what she'll believe. And how do you override or get a woman interested in having sex if she just doesn't see herself as a sexual being? So you actually have to identify and realize that aspect of yourself as a woman in order for your sex life to be as great as it could be. And what I see in dead bedroom situations a lot is that if a woman is not interested in having sex with her husband, there's usually one of three situations. The first is that the woman's not sexually attracted to him anymore. She was, but she's not anymore. The second is that a woman had forgotten her sexual identity. Or third was that she was actually never even sexually attracted to him at all, and it was a true bait and switch, where she just wanted the lifestyle of being married. She wanted a husband, she wanted kids, and the man was the way to get there. So everything she did sexually was performative, to do what she needed to do to secure the commitment, to have the kids, to have the lifestyle. And then once all that's satisfied, well, he just kind of exists in the background. So, ladies, you need to embrace your sexual identity. The third responsibility that married women have is that they need to address their hang-ups. It's going to be very difficult to embrace your sexuality as a woman if you have a whole lot of hang-ups. Maybe you have a hang-up that sex is bad, just like I talked about earlier. Maybe you've gained some weight because of the kids, and you just cannot stand looking at yourself in the mirror. You need to lose 50 pounds. Okay, you don't like the way you look in your mirror, but your husband seems to be perfectly fine with it. Or why don't you working to get yourself in a physical condition where you are very satisfied. You can't just say, well, I'm overweight. I don't feel sexy. Therefore, our sex life is what it is because I don't feel sexy. That's not reasonable. Your hangups are yours. If he didn't want to have sex with you, he wouldn't bother. So it's your responsibility to work through your hangups. So you got to identify what are they. You actually have to ask yourself the question, why don't I want to have sex with my husband? And the reason why a lot of women don't want to ask that question is because the truth sometimes hurts. Sometimes she has to acknowledge that, she did just bait and switch him. But you have to address the hangups, and that hangups could be on your end or it could be on his end. But it is your duty and your obligation and your responsibility to let him know what those are, because men will fix it. If the hangup is on his side, if the reason you're not wanting to have sex with him is for something he can fix, do the man a solid and let him know. He will fix it. I guarantee you. Men are fixers. That's what they do. One of your hangups may be that you don't have hormones. You have no desire. Okay, cool. What are you going to do about it? At least you identified what your hangup was. Well, I don't want to do anything about it. Not acceptable. You have to address, or also, AKA, fix your hangups. There's reasons you may not want to have sex, but none of them are excuses. And I hope that you see the difference there. And you want to do this, it's not just for him. You want to do this for you. Don't you want to feel good in your body? Don't you want to have a sexual drive? Don't you want to be horny? I mean, I like being horny. I'm a super fan of hormone replacement therapy, because once I went on testosterone and understood like the libido that men have, or at least got a glimpse into it, I was like, wow, this is really awesome. So I intentionally keep my testosterone a little bit higher than a physiological dose because I like that sensation of being horny. Probably wouldn't like it if I didn't have a good outlet for it, but that's just me. Let's move on. The fourth responsibility that married women have is to show up fully. There's so many times that women will say yes to sex when they're not in the mood. Men don't want duty sex, but I'm always telling them, go for it, because a woman is at least making the effort to show up where she can. When you show up, when you decide to go along for the ride, then maybe you're not in the mood. Maybe, you're like, okay, fine. You're kind of neutral about it. But you're doing this for him because you love him. I do that. No, that's not great. For all of you women out there, that is not great. You cannot say yes and say, well, if she wasn't fully in the mood, that's great. But no, your libidos are never going to be mashed up. That if you use that as your logic for saying that that's great, then 99% of the time when everyone's having sex, then that would meet the definition. That's a stupid definition. Sometimes when I'm not interested and I'm just showing up for my husband, I call it business. All right, fine. I'm not really in the mood, but let's do it. This is all business. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're not trying to make it more than it is. But when I show up, I'm not doing it as a way and being sighing, doing Patrick, the starfish. Are we done yet? If you say yes, say yes. Show up at least minimally. Don't try to make the man feel like shit, like you're a human fleshlight, okay? And if you can't show up at least minimally, if you can't participate at least a basic level, just say no then. It's far more damaging for you to show up minimally or to try to make him feel like crap because you're not in the mood and you decided you're going to punish him for having the audacity to want to have sex with you. But just like I was talking about with the gym, what you're going to find 99% of the time is that even if you're mentally not there yet, your brain will catch up. This is not new. This is science. Haven't you heard that when you are not happy, that the mere act of smiling causes your mood to increase? Don't show up all passive aggressive. Don't be a martyr. Don't say yes when you mean no. Don't sigh. Don't give him pity sex. Yes, I understand. Sometimes you're going to show up and it's going to be mac and cheese. It's going to be give him mac and cheese. It's some level of effort, okay? The fifth responsibility that married women have is to be open to exploration. Now listen, you're going to be married for a long time. I mean, hopefully, right? And can you guys hear my cat playing with the tree in the background? Sushi, get out of there. Hopefully you're going to be married for a long time. And I would hope that as your marriage goes along, that you become more and more comfortable with each other in a good way, and that you are going to be open to trying new things. Listen, what turned you on at 20 years old might be very different than what turned you on at 50. And if you're only doing the same things in the bedroom, in the same place, at the same time, it's going to get very boring. And there's one thing that you don't want as a woman. We all don't want to be bored. Girls just want to have fun. We want variety. Men want variety too. Throw on a wig, try a new location, do it in the car, do a new position, fire up the porn, see if there's something you want to try. Listen, I am very porn neutral when you're using it as a tool. You can't be so frigid, such a stick in the mud. And it's not just incumbent upon your husband to be the one coming up with new things to try. I mean, maybe you have it in your identity that good girls don't do something. It's all acceptable. Within the confines of monogamy, it's all good. Whatever you want to do between the two of you. As far as I know, I mean, even the people of faith, I don't know of anything biblically that is forbidden as long as it stays within a monogamy type of situation. So get creative. Start figuring out how to make your sex life a bit more fun. Maybe you can read some of these erotic novels. There's a new one out right now called The Milking Farm. Maybe you can read some erotic novels together. Women's minds are dirty, and you're leaving all that out. You're not letting your husband know about your dirty mind, you dirty girls. And I will say, guys, that if a woman is vulnerable enough with you to suggest something, a lot of times she won't because she feels like your ego won't be able to handle it. Like a simple example of this is maybe you want to bring in a vibrator. Some positions you can't hit the spot. Okay, guys? You're going to need a different stimulation. Some positions are hot mentally, but it just won't get the job done. Sometimes you got to throw a vibrator in there. This is not your competition. This is your wingman. And if she suggests getting a vibrator or incorporating something like that into the act, and you get all offended, like, what? So you're saying that I don't do my job, that I don't turn you on? You got to be careful. So if she's going to be open to exploring, you also have to be open to not taking things personally as if you're not doing a good enough job to satisfy her. The sixth responsibility that married women have is to initiate occasionally. You know, I think we take it for granted as women that a man's always down. He is always down. And I think we just underestimate how affirming that is, to always be desired. Like that's something that as men, they don't get that. But we have to understand that men want to feel desired too. They want to feel sexy. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel desired. In fact, a lot of the times when men eventually step out, it's not because of the actual physical part. It's because they finally feel wanted and desired. Somebody like sees them. It's that validation. So if you're never initiating, it's going to hinder this man's ability to feel desired by you. And that's what he wants. Sure, it's cool if other women desire him, but he wants to be desired by you. And initiating shows him that you want him. And it doesn't even have to be that often. Just initiate maybe like once for every 10 times he does. That's enough for him to keep his ego going and be happy that you're even thinking of him. And if you really want to blow his mind, offer to suck his like, give the guy a BJ once in a while. And don't make him ask for it. See what this guy will do for you. So what do you think, ladies? Are these reasonable? Let me know in the comments. And if that doesn't convince you, maybe you need to watch my video that I made on 5 fake excuses that women make about why they don't want to have sex. And with that, I'll see you next time.